is to reflect certain requirements of the law, which are contained in the e-privacy directive and the GDPR, into the TCF policies, into what are translated into TCF policies and technical specifications that are then specified for the digital advertising sector. So it aims to operationalize things like gathering the user's consent for storage and access operations, or providing transparency and as well as opt-in and opt-out functionalities for users, so that vendors or third parties in the digital ads ecosystem can establish and leverage successfully and in a compliant way a legal basis under the GDPR and the e-privacy directive. So the objective in doing so, as is sort of schematized very simply here on the graph or on the slide, is to standardize the provision of notice about personal data processing and the transmission of signals about user choices and transparency related to data collection and processing purposes that third parties use so that the digital advertising supply chain can continue to function in a way that aligns with the e-privacy and GDPR requirements. So it facilitates the provision of transparency very simply in obtaining consent and makes this information available throughout the ecosystem. So if you switch to the next slide, please. Most of the implementations of TCF currently are on web and mobile or app. But it's important to note that it's not, or the framework is not meant or is not designed specifically for either one of those environments. So the GDPR and e-privacy requirements do not actually discriminate between CTV and other environments. They don't make any distinction within those, and neither does DPA or Data Protection Authority guidance with regard to the requirements, for example, that apply to consent validity or other things. So there's no distinction between CTV and other environments in that context, and I don't expect there to be any distinction anytime soon. And because TCF reflects these requirements and their technological neutrality, it remains relevant in that context. Also, or similarly, the reasons for which data is processed in the ecosystem also remain the same in the CTV context. So there is delivery of ads, ad or content personalization, or ad and audience measurement. So these things are not fundamentally different just because we are in the CTV setting, and vendors will still be carrying out that processing or processing towards those purposes and delivering that to publishers in the CTV context. So again, TCF reflects these very reasons for processing and therefore remains relevant to support publishers and vendors in the CTV environment. I think we can't, however, ignore or we should be acknowledging the challenges that the CTV environment presents compared to others, namely in terms of user experience and the difficulty of providing a streamlined navigation through UIs that sometimes contain a lot of information and ask the user to make a lot of choices, as well as things like the variety of operating systems that we have in the CTV context. And the non-negligible challenge that multiple users, it's more likely that multiple users obviously may use the same device, and therefore it makes it less or more difficult to gather valid consent in the CTV context. And I guess our CMP representatives here will speak to those challenges and how they've navigated around them. And if you move to the next slide, please. All of the CMPs that we have today have been validated with the TCF validator. As you know, there is a process through which every CMP that implements TCF needs to go through. And we've recently actually created on our website a specific section dedicated to CMPs that have an offering for connected TV specifically. And just so you know that we are validating CMPs, we have about 9 CMPs validated so far for CTV. And they have all passed through this validation process that is here on this slide, and which I imagine will be shared along with this presentation later on. So now I guess I'll hand over back to you, Helen, or directly to Tamara and Julien from Didomi to present their different solutions and see how they've navigated these different challenges and how TCF is implemented within their product.
Just before you go, Philip, we have our first question of the session.
Oh, okay.
So I just want to quickly pose this to you. So this just comes from someone, Glenn Willis, saying there are currently only 9 registered CMPs for connected TV, and a few of them are publishers with their own CMP. What does the pipeline for other CMPs look like?
I'm not sure. To be honest, I haven't checked how many CMPs are currently pending validation for CTV recently, but I assume there's still quite a few coming. In any case, I think there are the CMPs that are presenting today have a CMP, commercial CMP service offering. So if the question relates to whether these are available for use by the wider publisher community, then yes, you are free to contact any of them as they have been validated and are therefore compliant with TCF.
Brilliant, thanks, Philip.
Happy to provide more information and follow up as to how many we still expect to be validated in the coming weeks.
Great, thanks, Philip. And I think this is one of the reasons we're doing this webinar today, is to raise awareness and try and encourage all stakeholders to start having solutions ready and available. So thanks, Philip. So with that, we're going to hand over now and introduce Tamara and Julian from Didomi. So if you guys would like to join.
Yes, thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to hand over to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So Julian?
Yes. Give me 1 second.
Sure. No worries.
Okay.
Julian, let me know if you've got any difficulties just sharing your screen. It's just the green button at the very bottom.
Do you see my screen or not?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
It's good to get the technical difficulties out the way early on.
Okay, it should be okay.
Yes.
No? Okay, thank you.
Great. So thank you, everyone. We're very happy to be able to participate from Didomi. So we want to start off with a short introduction. So my name is Tamara. I'm the product marketing manager at Didomi. Julien, you want to present yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Tamara. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Julien, a project manager at Didomi in charge of our CTV solution, and I'm very happy to be part of this webinar to showcase our solution.
So today we want to take you through a little bit of the UX and UI for our CTV and OTT content solution, talk a little bit about the unique selling points and a little bit about our solution in general. But first, we want to just start off with a quick introduction about Didomi, a very brief one. So as you know, we're a content management platform that collects, stores, and monitor content for our users. We also have a preference center that acts as a possibility for our users to choose their preferences regarding communication, frequencies, and channels of their communication. And also, of course, we believe in good and valuable and interesting integrations and partnerships that enforces Didomi. So a little bit quickly looking at our numbers. So today we have 160K website and apps where Didomi actually is deployed, and around 2 billion number of devices in which Didomi actually collect content each quarter, and around 65 plus billion page views where Didomi actually granted consent. So of course, regarding the CTV, that's why we're here. And we're of course very proud that we are one of the first or the first European CMP offering the CTV and OTT solution approved by the IAB. So we want to quickly just take you through, of course, that for all our products that we already do for our content management platform, we're building, collecting content and distribute it, of course, but we also believe that storing, of course, the measurement part regarding the analytics is equally important for all of our products, including the CTV release that we've done. So, of course, as we already know, we're very happy that we're approved by the IAB. Today, we have support for Apple TV and Android TV. However, we're continuously working and looking with the market to see what we can expand and possible devices that could be interesting to add on our roadmap. We also, of course, believe that easy implementation for customers is a necessity. So we're working very hard on a very easy implementation, a fast and pain-free one. Today, we're offering a multi-language solution, which contains 27 languages, but in the end of this week, we will expand and offer around 35. So we're very happy about that, to be able to offer that many languages at the moment. So we also quickly want to mention that for our CTV and OTT solution, we have our soon-to-be released cross-device. That basically means we can share content across all devices to enhance overall user experience, but also to minimize the user fatigue. So it will be available for website, in-apps, and of course, CTV. So that was a short introduction about CTV and Didomi. So I want to hand over to our product manager, Julien, to show you and demo the solution and talk about the UI and UX.
Thank you, Tamara. I'm not going to introduce our solution more in detail, but before, I would like to share with you 3 of our main challenges we decided to keep in mind and consider while designing our solution in order to not compromise the user experience on TV devices. The first one is about reading and displaying long text. I don't know if you ever tried to read a long text on a TV screen, but it's very, very not convenient. We are quite far from the screen and we have to scroll and we easily lose focus. So we decided to level the information displayed to promote natural access and to make the user informed about his consent. Second challenge was about browsing via remote control. It's really less natural than mouses and touch screens. And in order to provide a smooth navigation, we decided to promote focusable element and bulk actions at each stage of the user experience. And the last challenge is about web browsing on external link from a TV. It compromised a lot the user experience, so we decided to manage this external link from the app to be opened on a more convenient device, in our case, mobile, thanks to a QR code system, because on the TV we have to, it's the same for mobile, but we have to leave the app, go on the website, and then go back to the application. And to not compromise the user experience, we see it like an ecosystem of devices, and the user can access an external website from his mobile by scanning a QR code. I will now showcase our solution. And I have to open it. No, that one. Yeah, do you see it? Okay. So that's the first stage of the user experience. When the user opens an app who embed our consent notices for TV,
Julien, sorry, I don't think it's appearing on the screen.
No, we don't have it, Julien.
Okay, let me check back. Do you see?
Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so that's the first page the user lands when he launch an app with which embeds our consent notices. So there is a logo here, for example, the Didomi logo, but our customers are able to add their own logo. And this is a short introduction text to present the purpose of this banner. And our customers are able to add some customized content. The user can agree to all purposes and vendor at this step and close the notice. He can disagree to everything as well. He can also go deeper inside the purposes to make a more granular choice, consult the partners and make a granular choice, or he can consult the privacy policy, for example, here in the privacy policy website of Didomi, and can scan this QR code to access it on our mobile and don't leave the app from the TV. If the user decides to go inside the purposes to do a granular choice, he had this quick action to agree to everything or disagree to everything, of the purposes, I mean, or he can go deeper inside one specific purpose to make a granular choice. From this stage, he can consent or not and object to legitimate interest or not. And to make an informed choice, he can read the legal description of the purpose. He can do the same. He can do a granular choice for each partner. So we still have this bulk action to agree to all vendors or disagree to all vendors, or he can go deeper inside one partner. For the partner members of the IAB Transparency and Consent Framework, we have a disclosure to explain it to the customer, to the user, sorry. And the user can consult the privacy policy of the partner with the same QR code system. He can also consult the website of the IAB TCF to be more informed about it. And he can consent to the data processing based on consent or not. And he can read the legal description of all the purposes based on the consent. He can do the same with the data processing based on legitimate interest, so he can object or not. Here he has a list of all the purposes based on legitimate interest, and he can read the legal description of these purposes if he wants to be more informed. He can also consult the additional data processing and their legal description, as well as for required one, even if he can't reject his consent. We also list here all the device storages for this partner. So for each device storage, we have the name and the type of the device storage, the domain, and the expiration of the consent. And he can navigate to consult all the device storages. When the user has made his choices, he can set the configuration and close the notice, or he can still agree to all or disagree to all purposes and vendors. That's all for the showcase. And I will let Tamara conclude.
So yes, you have an overview and seen our solution for CTV. So if you have any questions, you can either save them for later and send us an email, or if you want to ask them right away. But thank you very much for letting us participate.
Thanks so much, Tamara and Julian. So I've just got a couple of questions that have come in. The first one I'm going to ask is, how does the cross-device solution work technically?
So today, the cross-device, well, the website or app shares a user identifier with Didomi, which could be through email or anonymous ID, etc. So basically, when the user makes a choice, the status is then stored on Didomi servers. So the next time, for example, the identified user is seen, the status directly pulled from our servers and used instead of taking or asking the user for a choice to be made once again.
Brilliant, thanks, Tamara. And then second question was, does this work only on Apple TV and Android TV, or are HBB TV or STBs in scope?
Well, for now, we only have availability on Android and Apple TV. However, we're continuously working on expanding our roadmap, so it will be put later on for sure to expand.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, and with that, and if anyone does have any other questions for Tamara or Julian, just please put those into the Q&A box and we can pass those at the end. Right, so with that, I'm going to move on now to our next presenters and introduce Ruud and Kai. And I think we have Robbie as well from LiveRamp.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are you going to share the slides?
Yes.
Perfect. So while Ruud is going to start the presenting mode. So yeah, first of all, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity today to talk about how you could leverage LiveRamp technology to set up a TCF V2 compliant consent management solution for CTV. As our approach requires a close collaboration with publishers, we have chosen to let one of our first publishers join our slot today. So that's why Ruud and Robbie are here today. And Excite was actually one of the first clients that went live with the solution for CTV. And that's why I'm super excited to have Ruud here today, who was as head of front-end development, kind of like instrumental in making this collaborative project a success from the very beginning onwards until the go live. And having said that, I'm very pleased to hand it over now to Ruud for the beginning to give a bit of more background on Excite and the challenges that were evolving last year in summer.
Yeah, thanks, Kai. Well, hi guys. My name is Ruud. I'm head of front-end development at Excite, and last year I was the project manager of implementing a TCF 2.0 compliant solution for the Excite CTV app. Can you guys see my screen before we start?
Yes,
Good to know. So in short, first a little bit of introduction on our side. Excite is a media tech company. And we currently have two main products. We have a linear TV channel where we broadcast 24/7 music videos, just like the old MTV, so to say. But a few years back, about 4 or 5 years back, we started developing a connected TV application, which basically led a new era for music video watching. I can tell a lot of about this connected TV app, but we have an awesome media and production department who can do it way, way better than I can. So I will just share a short video about what Excite is and what our connected TV app is.
We are Excite. We provide consumers throughout the world with the ultimate music video experience. Excite is a fun and easy-to-use product that allows viewers to search, like, and skip through Excite's entire catalog of all major label and top independent releases, with new videos being added every day. Choose from up to 100 different music video channels, manually curated and refreshed daily by a team of music experts. Our channels appeal to a wide variety of music genres, moods, themes, activities, and events, including everything from the essentials to the freshest hits. Simply select a channel and we'll take it from there. Or if you want to play VJ, create your own channel by selecting a genre, decade, and style. Excite now reaches over 100 million households across Europe and North America through interactive TV apps and on-demand streaming services. You can find Excite on Comcast Xfinity, Sky Q, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung TV, Apple TV, Rogers, and Ziggo. Excite. We love music videos.
All right. So this was a little short introduction about our CTV app. So we are a freemium business model. We have free users that get to show advertisements and have limited access to our features. And we also offer a subscription model for $5 or €5 per month. Users will get the full experience of the Excite app without advertisements. More than 90% of our users are free users. So these users will all see advertisements roughly about 10 to 12 minutes every hour. So also most of our revenue comes from this advertising business model. And with our programmatic advertising service, as a publisher and data processor, it's very important for us that we deal with data and consent in a correct way. By properly informing the user about what data we collect and how we process this. And also let them make an informed choice about how the user wants to let their data be used. So this means that for basically everybody here in this call, the 15th of August 2020 was a very important date in all of our agendas. For us, we were looking for a partner to work on a solution which is fully TCF 2.0 compliant. And with our search, we found LiveRamp to help us out with this challenge of last year.
Thank you, Ruud. Yeah, so as Ruud mentioned, Excite last year was looking for a partner that brings in all the expertise around TCF 2.0, privacy and data connectivity. And yeah, at the end of the day, Excite choose to go with LiveRamp because we, as you see here, we make it safe and easy for businesses like Excite to use data effectively. And what that means is that LiveRamp at its core is providing a global identity infrastructure which enables LiveRamp's client base to run people-based marketing campaigns across the open web, app, and CTV. And therefore, the first step is always that the identity infrastructure works, that we have to ensure that consent is given from the end user in all of those channels. And that's also why LiveRamp offers the privacy solutions, which are like the Privacy Manager and Preference Link, which are tied in what we see today here and how Excite leverages it at no cost to publishers. And yeah, with that offering, we helped Excite to ensure that they could set up a consent management flow for their CTV environments from the 15th of August onwards last year. If you could move to the next slide, please. Yeah, so as mentioned, the overall goal from Excite was that they had to come up with a solution that is compliant to TCF, especially in summer last year because of the importance of their AVOD business. And early on, Excite and we from LiveRamp, we had open conversations with each other on how could we achieve this goal together by collaborating and how could we achieve that goal for CTV, right? And overall, there were some challenges that had to overcome. So first and foremost, it had to fit into the experience. As you saw in the video, Excite loves music, and the app screams Excite and should not scream LiveRamp. So the look and feel really had to adapt Excite's look and feel rather than LiveRamp's look and feel, because the first thing that a user sees when they open the Excite app will be the consent screen. So therefore, the solution had to be flexible enough from a UX and UI perspective. Secondly, there are like 3 main user journeys that had to be covered in that solution, right? So on the one side, a user that accepts all in one go. On the second user journey, you could say, and a user that comes and wants to give a granular consent, right? To have like going into setting personal preferences on either vendor and or purpose level. And then a third use case was like, if somebody has previously given consent, there needs to be a way to change the consent preferences. So the solution also had to take all of these 3 scenarios, user journeys into consideration. And then the other 2 points, they're coming a bit hand in hand. So the user had to be able to make an informed decision, while we also had to overcome certain limitations that are given in the CTV space. And it was also pointed out by Didomi previously, right? So for us, it was clear that somehow for a user to give an informed decision on a granular level, this is maybe not sufficient to do this with a remote control on the TV. And therefore, we decided that the solution should also cover something with that. And therefore, we included a second device in that flow. But later on, Ruud will tell a bit more about that. So at the end of the day, to overcome all of those challenges, Excite decided to leverage LiveRamp's Privacy Manager and Preference Link combined with Excite's UX and UI. And maybe before I hand over to Ruud again, so Privacy Manager itself is like our core TCF 2.0 certified CMP, which is available for web, app, and AMP. And then on the other side, if you combine it with Preference Link, which is at the core like there to generate, store, and retrieve consent and preference informations from the user base on a deterministic identifier that is chosen by a publisher. And this combination was like the backbone of Excite's solution that we will see later. And with that, I would like to hand it over again to Ruud.
Yeah, so as Kai mentioned, we need to overcome some challenges. Didomi mentioned basically the same things. That the requirements for TCF 2.0 were mainly written for mobile and web. So some elements of these requirements were hard to immediately use and implement for the TV solution. Of course, as you can imagine, focus, navigation, using a TV remote is of course slightly different than mobile and using a mouse on a computer. We needed to support different application frameworks. So as you could see in the video, we are live on more than 12 TV platforms. So we needed basically to take ownership of this consent management solution. So we were basically in the lead of getting it to work on our own applications. And we need to create an easy and seamless consent journey for all our users. Basically in the Excite design, which we like, which we think is best for our users. So to give a live demo, and always bear with me because these live demos might always be tricky in live sessions like these. So here we have the web version of our SkyQ, a British telecom company app. So picture you're watching television. This is the Excite music video app on SkyQ. As you can see, the music video starts playing straight away if you launch the app. But as a new user, you need to be informed on basically your data usage. So we show a consent screen written out, what data we use for what purposes, and we provide a handover to basically the list of vendors or partners on a different website where people can easily read everything they need to know if they want to know more. But basically the text on this screen with LiveRamp's expertise and help fits perfectly everything we need to tell them about data usage. So we're happy that we could fit it all in one screen, and the user is not too distracted by scrolling or navigating service of LiveRamp. To explain it simply, what we do basically here when the user clicks OK on accept and continue, we share with LiveRamp this account ID with XYZ, choose accept all. Can you generate a consent string for us based on the purposes and vendors that we have submitted on the preference link service? And LiveRamp shares back this IAB TCF compliant consent string. We store it on our own account level for our consent management service. And the moment we show advertisements in our app, this string is shared with the third parties behind this, so they can see how the data can be used. But the most complex case, of course, is the managed preference flow, because we need to inform the users basically about purposes, vendors, where they're used for. The user should be able to toggle them on and off. And this was very hard to do with a remote on TV. So what we did is we designed a user journey where we hand over the user to a second device, just a mobile, laptop, whatever. And we asked the user to go to privacy.excite.com and fill in this connect code. And with this connect code, basically, we can connect a user which is on the web browser on mobile, that's the same user that's using our application. So it shows like this. The user goes to privacy.excite.com and types in the 8-digit code. And with this, the basically standard LiveRamp Privacy Manager script pops up that's also usable for mobile and web. And here, basically, we show an overview of all the basically vendors and purposes where we use the user data for. The user can toggle certain things on and off, can accept, reject certain things. We have a complete overview of all the vendor parties that we have with all the required TCF information where the user can read up in. Can give consent, can again toggle on and off. And here the user can still accept everything if he wants to. But if the user presses save and exit, we know that from the privacy manager solution we have on the website, a certain choice being done. Again, LiveRamp generates a consent string for us, shares it back with us via our website to our own account management systems. And on the TV real time, you will see as a user, you're all set, your preference has been stored, and you immediately continue with the Excite service and can continue watching the music videos. And with the solution, we're actually really proud because we have found a solution that informs the user properly on the purposes where we use the data for and with which parties we share it with. We provide a user-friendly solution to give the user power over their own preferences on a second device, which is fully integrated within the Excite systems and on the TV device. And we have a conversion ratio of about 96%, which we're really, really happy with, and it exceeds basically all our expectations. So we are really happy with the solution together with LiveRamp that we implemented, and we consider it a great success. Okay.
Thank you, Ruud. Yeah, so as you could see from the live demo, at the end of the day, mission accomplished, I would say. So the ambitious goals of having a CTV compliant solution in place by summer last year was luckily done thanks to this strong collaboration. And I think what is most important, and what Ruud also showed in the demo, is that it allows the user to make an informed decision in a very frictionless and intuitive way, and that we don't intertwine too much with the Excite user experience in that case. And yeah, it has become a success story, you could say, because of the collaborative partnership with LiveRamp and by leveraging the two core products within the LiveRamp's privacy solution suite, as Ruud mentioned, so Privacy Manager and Preference Link. And yeah, at the end of the day, as Ruud mentioned, very high rates when it comes to the consents. So at the end of the day, the AVOD business model from Excite got safeguarded, while they don't see any ad revenue drops, and it helped them to be future-proof, but also be ahead of the curve when it comes to consumer privacy. And yeah, with that, we would open it up to questions.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, we've got a few questions here. So I think actually, Ruud, a couple of these I'm going to address to you. Yep. First one is actually asking what were the main reasons, I think you covered this, but why you chose to go with LiveRamp. And actually, the follow-on question to this is, why didn't you use your own approved CMP? Why did you decide to have an external one?
We actually are, let's say, CMP approved ourselves, because basically we are basically telling the user how the data is being used. So we needed to hand it in our own solution to the IAB, and we discussed thoroughly with several people in the IAB about our solution. So that's what happened there. And we basically want to be in charge, because we want to do experiments there. We want to maybe play around with certain text or certain user interactions. So that's why we find it very important to be basically in charge of our own code and our own solution. And that's why we actually chose basically to go for our own CMP registration, but basically with the expertise of LiveRamp on their mobile and web implementation, we could use their knowledge, but also their designers and engineers on basically formulating our own preferred solution on top of a standard out-of-the-box solution. Hope
Brilliant, thank you.
Questions a bit.
And then just a question just about why did you choose to ask users to make the granular choice in a different environment?
Well, our, let's say, user experience designers really hate the fact using the remote on everything. It's basically laggy, especially when you need to read a lot of text and to press a lot of ups and downs. So basically our main starting point was we need to hand over this experience to an easier to use device, mobile or laptop. And with this basically thought in mind, avoiding the remote as much as possible, we decided to go this route. And so far, our experience have been really, really good.
Great. And then this is actually just about the A/B testing. So question here, whether there has been some A/B testing between off by default or on by default for the different questions within the CMP?
At this point in time, at that point in time, in August, September last year, we couldn't support A/B testing yet on our platforms. We recently started doing this. The first A/B test that we want to try out is basically, instead of using a connect code, is using a QR code to scan the user and go to the website. But this one has not yet been implemented. So we're, let's say, in the very beginnings yet of testing this solution on our side to improve and increase conversion ratios or improve basically the user experience here.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you so much, Ruud and Kai. Super appreciated your presentation there, and we'll be sharing these afterwards with all of the attendees and anyone else. So with that, I'm going to hand over to our final presenters for the day, and we will be joined by OneTrust. So I have Ethan here. Let me just get this up. So welcome, Ethan, and I'll pass over to you.
Awesome. I just shared my screen. Can you see that coming through?
I can see it. Perfect. Yeah.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Ethan Sailors. I manage our solutions engineering team at OneTrust that focuses on our full consent and preference management suite of products, which of course involves our CMP. And I'm happy to walk you through some of the work that we've been doing specifically for CTV and OTT. Now, for those that don't know, we're one of the largest software companies for privacy and data protection management. And of course, a lot of the work that we do goes into managing user choice and transparency when it comes to how they're tracked in a varied technical landscape. To jump in, I'll just show an example really quickly of what our tooling looks like in the CTV environment. I have a quick video here. And again, really, when we think about a consent management provider, the goal here is to help foster that transparency and user choice within the connected device landscape. So here we have a example of if you were going into an app. Of course, we have our banner, and then from there, the user can go through their TCF template and either consent or object to legitimate interest, whether that's through the list of IAB vendors or going through our purpose stacks. Here I can, again, consent or object when looking at a specific purpose, and I can navigate through this preference center and then ultimately save my choices. So we provide all of these UI components out of the box, and these can be triggered at any point in your app, whether that's initializing them, at a time when you may be about to deliver personalized ads, or of course, loading them up through something like your privacy settings menu. Now, one of the unique things specifically about connected TV and OTT is there's a very varied technical landscape. So today we have native SDK support for Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, Tizen, and Roku. But we also have an HTML5 based solution, which can work and the HTML OSs, for example, WebOS and LGTVs. And we also have a consent management API, which can be called really within any device that can connect to the internet. And this allows you to make sure you're adhering to privacy requirements while also delivering a personalized experience as you're capturing consent from your audience within any of your applications that may range against these different platforms. Now, specifically for OTT and CTV, there's a few different use cases that we're seeing. Today, I'm going to specifically talk about GDPR consent and TCF, but we also have a solution for CCPA opt-out of sale, delivering the IAB CCPA string. And we also have tooling for cross-device management, which is even more critical, as I think we've seen here today already, when you think about users navigating not just on a CTV application, but transferring that experience to mobile or even mobile web to get a better user experience for setting their choices. And then we also have tools for privacy rights management. If you think about rights for access, deletion, rectification, or to opt out across various different privacy laws. So if we dig in a little bit about how this works, obviously in this case, there's a consumer visiting an app on a CTV from a publisher. As a CMP, our native SDK will actually initialize and determine what user experience we want to deliver to that consumer. So we have standard geolocation lookup, which can then determine if I need to deliver something like a TCF banner, or if I'm just going to not show a banner at all and allow someone to opt out through, again, the privacy settings of the application. And then based off of that decision, we will either propagate the consent or propagate that opt-out through the SSP, which can then be picked up from the ad tech network through a DSP, and then ultimately transferred to those brand advertisers so that the user can receive a personalized ad within that ad space. Now, there's several considerations that need to be made here. Of course, one is, are you disclosing the right information? This really comes into things like notice and disclosure requirements at or before the time of collection of data. And this is where you can really add logic to determine, do I need to show a TCF banner to this audience or not? From there, who's allowed to receive data? Of course, that's where we leverage industry frameworks like the IAB so that we can have a verified vendor list. And then ultimately, do you have effective consent? Now, the other side of this is making sure that we're communicating this to verified vendors, which of course we all do as a verified consent management provider. But while organizations are looking to propagate consent to essentially certified or verified vendors, we're also seeing more and more in this space that vendors are valuing a consented inventory much more than a non-consented inventory, especially in areas like Europe where there are strict consent requirements for delivering personalized advertisements. So that's a bit, technically what's going on in the app in terms of how we're delivering the experience to the user. Within our SDKs, we have several UI assets that we can provide. Of course, one is the consent banner. Then we have the preference center where a user can set more granular settings, and then purpose details and the IAB vendor list and details. So if we give a breakdown there, again, you can trigger our banner at any time. Commonly, we see this need to be done before data is actually transferred or you're starting to run personalized ads. And then from there, a user can accept all, reject all, or go into those privacy settings. From there, looking into our preference center, again, this is accessible through that banner or through an app's privacy settings. And this is where you can start to either go to that list of partners and access your vendor list, or start to look at your more granular details when it comes to the different purpose stacks that you have configured within your preference center. If I look at my purpose details, again, here I can actually see the purpose stacks, and I can come in and either consent or object to legitimate interest. And then the last piece here is the actual vendor list and details, which we're all pulling from the OneTrust server, so that you always have your most updated IAB vendor list. Now, in terms of what we're delivering, these are a few of the UI components, but especially in a changing landscape like privacy, it's also very critical that you can easily manage and scale these. So I'll show a quick demo of how this is actually set up and deployed for OTT. Here I've actually moved into a OneTrust environment. This is our main welcome stream where you can get started in any of our integrated modules. And if I move into OTT app compliance, this shows an example of your central inventory where you can essentially load these apps. As I mentioned, we have native SDK support for several different platforms here. And once this is done, all of your UI components are actually templatized. So if you're using our tooling for web and mobile, you can actually use a lot of the work that you've already done. But we also have standard frameworks pre-built. So as you're enabling, IAB TCF 2.1, you're actually starting from a template, and all of the configuration here is point and click. So you're not really having to rely on coding. And then we even have templates for things like notifications, if we're actually syncing that preference, from web to mobile to OTT and vice versa. So it's all very streamlined. Again, change management becomes a click of a button. And where you may have many different teams across, digital, marketing, compliance, technology, we try and have everything handled through our point and click admin console, so that you're not having to do huge development efforts. The last thing I'll talk about before I open it up for questions here, if I move back into my presentation, is, and I think we've seen this a bit already, it's also becoming ever more critical that we have increased support for cross-device consent and preference management. So when we think about a user interacting with an organization on web, going through a mobile device, or even coming to a connected TV or OTT device, we can now sync all of that back into the OneTrust platform as well, which means that all of those choices can actually be delivered on any of these other devices or digital properties that the user may be interacting with. Common use cases for this would be cross-domain syncing if you're an enterprise with many brand websites, of course, mobile web or mobile to web and mobile to OTT, or if we think about just delivering an easier user experience out of the TV landscape where someone may need to use a remote and onto a mobile app. I also have a quick demo of what this would look like in practice. Here we have an example of a web application for a fictitious website. If I'm a user, I can come in and manage my settings and essentially consent to different purposes. And this is also fully enabled for TCF purposes as well. Once I confirm my choices, we can see we're syncing this back into the OneTrust platform. And I essentially have a data subject profile where I'm able to view any of the most updated consents. In this case, I've opted into all of my purposes for processing. Now from there, if I open up our mobile app, here we're running our native SDK for iOS. I can then reinitialize this, and at that point, we're going to pull our latest data. And then if I open up my preference center, I can see that my most updated choices have actually gone from web to mobile as well. So propagating that back and forth. Now, if I opt out of 2 of my categories and confirm my choices, I can see that I have pulled those most recent choices back into the OneTrust platform as well. And I can see where my profile has been updated. And then if I were to go back to that web application, I can see that if I refresh the page here, all of my consent choices have now propagated back to the web. Now, the last thing we'll do, if I reconsent to my 3 purposes here, if I open up an Apple TV emulator, I can now come in and actually view those choices as well. And I can see that I've now gone from web to mobile back to web. And then, of course, we'll push that back into OTT. And if I reject all, we can see that as this is saved, we're propagating that back into OneTrust, which means we can now reference it on the web as well. So really syncing these back and forth and making sure that we've got a unified user experience across any of the channels where you may interact with your users. All right, and with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Ethan. I'm just having a look now. I think that was a very clear presentation, hence probably why there's not too many questions for it. Just a quick one. I think this question came in for the last presentation. which was just someone made the point about accepting or rejecting should be equally easy according to GDPR. Is this the case with the consent flow using a second device to manage granular preferences?
Yeah, I'd say and I won't speak to all of the CMPs here, but at least from ours, you can enable the different button sets that you want. So it's really a determination for your team on the choices that you want to select, but any choice that you want to provide someone on CTV, you can also provide them on mobile. I think the consideration there is not necessarily can they reject or accept, because you can offer both choices to someone on either device. You want to think about, are you giving them every opportunity based off of the devices they have at hand to opt out? I think in a digital world, we can assume everyone has an iPhone. So, you can certainly transfer them back to a phone or to a computer, but you want to make sure you can also offer them the opportunity to opt out directly through their TV, because consent has to be, again, as easily to opt out as it is to receive. And if they're giving consent on the TV, generally, I'd say you also need to let them reject consent on the TV.
Great, thanks, Ethan. So if anyone has any other questions for any of the other panelists, please do add those in now. And then we've just got one question here, which is asking about, is there anyone who is dealing with CMP over linear TV stream? If I understand correctly, all of the examples are from TV apps. Anyone would like to take that question?
Yeah, I just say right now what we've seen primarily is in actual streaming applications. However, that's certainly an interesting use case. So as the space expands and people are looking to deliver more programmatic inventory there, we'll certainly address that as needed.
Great, thank you. And then I've got a question here. If you opt out on a mobile, how long is the decision stored for? Or opt in on a mobile, how long is the decision stored for?
Within our platform, all consent settings are configurable. We do 1 year by default, but you can edit any of those timelines yourself. Great,
thank you. Anyone else, if you wanted to jump in on that particular question, do have your say. And I'm just looking, I don't think we have any other questions, but if anyone does, if you do have another question that you'd like to get in contact afterwards, we will be sharing all of the materials with everyone, plus the recording. Our email address, if you've got any inquiries about the TCF and how it works for CTV, is framework@iabeurope.eu. So you can send your questions there. And as my colleague Philip indicated earlier on, we do have the list of all of the registered CMPs on our website. So thank you very, very much for all of the representatives today from Didomi, from LiveRamp, from Excite, and from OneTrust. It's been, first of all, thank you for going through all of that hard work and for coming up with a solution for CTV and coming to the TCF and having that validated. We really do appreciate it. And the purpose of these webinars is to really encourage all stakeholders to start looking into consent in this platform. So we will be back tomorrow at the same time with 3 other CMPs who will be showcasing their solutions as well. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice day. Thanks.